Welcome back, everyone, to Pontos Fathom Press. This is episode 70 of the Pontos Fathom Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Dune Messiah, the concept of the Tarot. One of these concepts that come up in Dune Messiah that's pretty deep is the idea of prophecy inside of the Dune universe. And then sort of relate this back to this eclipse that's coming up and just the way some of this mechanism works, the way it's handled in fiction, and the way we can explore it here on the channel, the way we do things. Maybe I'll start out with this quote from Dune Messiah. This actually is a photograph I took of the moon through a telescope with the cell phone. So you can check that out. It's pretty detailed. Leave that out there in reference. It says... My lord, Stilgar said, concentrating on his hands, there is a question in our minds. Yes, Paul gave the old friendman his full attention. You have certain powers, Stilgar said. Can you not locate the intent despite the guild? Powers, Paul thought. Stilgar couldn't just say, you're prescient. Can't you trace a past in the future that leads to the two-pile? Paul looked at the golden surface on the table. Always the same problem. How could he express the limits of the inexpressible? Should he speak of fragmentation, the nature of destiny of all power? How could someone who's never experienced the spice challenge of prescience conceive of an awareness containing no localization, no space-time, no personal image vector, or any associated sensory captives? He looked at Aliyah, found her attention on Irulan. Ah, yes, an answer that they gave would find its way into one of Irulan's special reports to the Bene Gesserit. They never gave up seeking an answer to their Kwisatz Haderach. Stilgar, though, deserved an answer of some kind. For that matter, so did Irulan. The uninitiated try to conceive of prescience as obeying a natural law, Paul said. He steepled his hands in front of him. But it would be just as correct to say that it's heaven speaking to us, that being able to read the future is a harmonious act of man's being. In other words, prediction is a natural consequence of the wave of the present. It wears the guise of nature, you see. But such powers cannot be used from an attitude that prestates aims and purposes. Does a chip caught in the wave say where it's going? There's no cause and effect in the oracle. Causes become occasions of convections and confluence, places where the currents meet. Accepting your prescience, you fill your being with concepts repugnant to the intellect. Your intellectual consciousness, therefore, rejects them. In rejecting, intellect becomes part of the process. It's subjugated. You cannot do it, Stilgar said. Were I to seek two-pile with prescience, Paul said, speaking directly to Irulan, this might hide two-pile. Chaos, Irulan protested. It has no consistency. I did say it does not obey natural law, Paul said. So that's kind of the flavor of where I want to start this. So obviously you can see here there's that Jungian, sort of the Jungian influence that Frank Herbert has. And that same Jungian influence that we talk a lot about in the Alchemy and Anthroposophy in the Dune Saga, right? So this Jungian influence of prescience was a topic of one of our other podcasts. We did have a podcast that was titled Frank Herbert's Doom, Other Memory, Prophecy, and the Psychology of the Future. And we've got that in this volume as well. But what are we really talking about here? We're talking about the idea that there's maybe two ways of looking at the tarot. And out on the table today, I've actually got the Crowley Tarot deck here. I'm going to give this a shuffle while I talk about this. So we've got some books on Crowley. We've got some books on the moon. We want to kind of bring in all these concepts of the coming eclipse, the tarot, and the muddied waters of divination, let's call it. One of the things that I think is very interesting about this insight that Frank Herbert has into the Dune Tarot is that actually there's two kinds of applications of the Dune Tarot. You know, if you think of the I Ching, right? Think of the I Ching as an oracular device. And I'm going to go into these I Ching cards that I've made in the past. I've made these I Ching cards that have some of the hexagons on the back. I made these a long time ago. Maybe I made those in high school. And then I've got these I Ching cards that I'll go into a bit, which are based on a visual I Ching. Maybe we'll lay them out for you guys. So the concept of the usage of let's say prophetic things or oracular things is, one is to know the future, right? But the other one is a more psychological, let's call it a more psychological position, and that is to understand the situation better, right? So when you're looking to predict the future, like if you want winning lottery numbers, I think this is where there's that tension where things won't play out the way you think they play out. And I think this is exactly what's going on in Dune Messiah. Like if we go into this a bit deeper, I've got another quote here. This one says, Reverend Mother, I shudder to see you in such a circumstance, Irulan said. She stood behind the door, measuring the various capacities of the room in her Bene Gesserit way. It was a 3-meter cube carved with cutaways with veined brown rock beneath Paul's keep. For furnishings, it contained one flimsy basket chair, occupied now by the Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohayim, a pallet with a brown cover upon which had been spread a deck of the new Dune Tarot cards, a metered water tap about the reclamation basin. Yellow light came anchored through the glow globes. You've sent word to the Lady Jessica, the Reverend Mothers asked. Yes, but I didn't expect her to lift one finger against her firstborn, Irulan said. She glanced at the cards. They spoke of the powerful turning their backs on supplicants. The card of the great worm lay beneath desolate sand. Patience was counseled. Did one require the tarot to see this? She asked herself. Again, already we have this idea of the tarot serving that purpose of psychological knowing of the now versus predicting something. And the interesting theme is that how the Dune Tarot in Dune Messiah seems to muddy the waters of Paul's oracular vision. As he lay immersed in the screening odor of the spice, staring inward through the oracular trance, Paul saw the moon become an elongated sphere. It rolled and twisted and hissed, the terrible hissing of a star being quenched in an infinite sea. Down, 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 like a ball thrown by a child. That terrible vision of a lost moon, a falling moon. Disengage, 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 he says. And he says that the children of the moon falls and is gone. The remains of a conch shell from the seas of Mother Earth lay on the low table. Paul passed his hand over his eyes and forehead. So his vision is muddied by the usage of the Dune Tarot. And in a way, they publish, in the book, they actually publish the tarot cards in a way to sort of establish this kind of muddying of the waters. So, and then the other thing we kind of wanted on the topic today, we also wanted to talk a little bit about the eclipse, how these eclipses come. You know, if you go back to the Jungian look at this, Jung did an early study on synchronicity. And he talked about astrology in that, where he said astrology was kind of like the wine, the better years of grapes for winemaking, something to this effect, right? But still, in these arts of divination, there are systems, there are people who take these systems forward. And, one of those classic books, we've got the Book of Thoth by Crowley on the table. Right, so if we take a look at this Crowley deck, and actually if we go into Crowley's Liber 4 here, there's a look at a Kabbalic sort of tree of life. And if you look into sort of the tarot card readings, I've also got this Lon Milo Duquette Thoth Tarot book. I find that both of these are pretty abstract. I'm a big fan of this Gerd Ziegler Tarot, a handbook for the Aleister Crowley Tarot. It's very simple. It's plain English. It just gives you enough that you don't need to memorize every card. But if we kind of look at the Tree of Life view of the tarot system, we come up with this idea of the basic card, the Celtic cross. We're going to use the Celtic cross system instead. But you can see here we've got Crowley's Tree of Life, and the way he's got this set up. And they actually have, even in the structure, you see the tarot cards are all listed out in this. Another thing that he calls out to is this, the Stele of Revealing. To that, we're going to also bring in these Egyptian oracular cards, just to show some alternate readings. I see lots of YouTubers are doing these card readings by a topic. But what we're really going to do today is we're just going to do a reading for the sake of the reading at the time of the eclipse. Let's just put all this together. So we got the Stele of Revealing. We've got these Tree of Life. We've got Gerd Ziegler's view of the Celtic cross. And I'll put the Dune Messiah across it to keep it open. So let's start out with that initial tarot deck. Clear for these. Also get these Ganesh cards that we can call on to. Let me bring these Ganesh cards out. When they ask for us extra cards, maybe we can also pull some cards from these for clarification. So these Ganesh cards. So I guess what I want to kind of bring up is this idea of how muddy the waters could be if you're looking to know the future, but how actually clear it can be if you're just looking to know the state of things. Okay? So let's go ahead. Let's use the topic of the coming eclipse as our question. All right, we're just going to ask about the coming eclipse. Let's just try an experiment here, all of us. We've got the Celtic cross system. We've got Crowley's deck. Let's see how this comes out. So we're going to put these out. We'll cut them a few times, sort of clear our minds. We'll think about what the future will bring. And let's place this here, the 1. This is the basic card. The 2, influence is hindering. 3, the conscious thoughts. 4, the unconscious thoughts. 5, past. 6, the future. 7, the self. Actually, I just knocked a card over. So when things happen like synchronicitously, this is the Nephitum, completeness. So this card just fell by itself. I just knocked it over by accident. Let's leave completeness here as an indication to this one when we pull this card out. Right, let's not force anything. Next one is the energies coming from the outer world, the Lisan al-Gaib, right? My hopes and fears and the results and the outcome. So let's share this together. This is for everyone on this pre-eclipse day. Let's start out with this first card. And we've gotten the Hanged Man. Okay, so the Hanged Man, let's go into the Hanged Man. I'll leave the moon as the bookmark. The Hanged Man tells us this, so we're going to look at this as the basic situation of the eclipse. And we get the Hanged Man, 12. Right, 12, Hanged Man. So these are quite clear. It says, congealed, the end of a situation or relationship which is stuck, letting go, giving up, surrendering. learning to see in a new way, the necessity of breaking through old behavioral patterns. Let's take a look at him closely. The Hanged Man is nailed upside down, a position in which the personal will is broken. The situation is at a stalemate. There's no more room to move. Escape of any kind has now become impossible. The serpents of transformation and wisdom lay coiled and sleeping. Well, isn't that interesting? Because this is how Paul felt stuck in Dune Messiah. The Hanged Man is nailed to the wood of his petrified attitudes and viewpoints. His eyes are closed. He is blind. Every new idea is resisted. His head is shaved. However, even in the midst of the hopelessness, wonders can occur. By breaking through rigid behavior patterns, clearing away old rubbish, full surrender to the higher self, one who bows willingly to the cosmic order of the universe is able to become one with the flow of the Tao. Not my will, but thy will be done. Indications. It is now possible for you to recognize where you were stuck and which areas of your life are congealed rather than flowing. There remains nothing more to do. The mere act of perceiving your reality clearly makes transformation possible. In what areas of your life are you stuck? Are you ready to recognize and let go of your petrified thoughts and behavior power? Draw another card for that which awaits you when you surrender. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw another card. This is what awaits us when we surrender. Look, it's an Aquarius image. Now let's also grab this one. This one is Exploration. Let's grab a Ganesh deck one as well. And this is Personal Transformation. Okay, so all of these are Aquarian, right? Look, you have the boat here as well, right? The heavens coming down through the up and the down, right? The as above, so below. The arrow up and the arrow down. This card, let's just read the Crowley. Let's read the indication of this. 15, 16, 17. This is the star. It's not the moon, it's the star. But still, the moon is the next card. All right, so the star says Aquarius, inspiration, crystallization, self-recognition, clear vision, trust the self. This represents the beautiful process. And it says, let your star rise and stay connected with the earth. Are you totally fulfilled in your present area? Check to see if you're doing everything possible to bring your ideas to fruition. So this is great. We're starting out with a time of transformation. The final indication from the Hanged Man is, I let go and realize, follow and accept the will of the divine in my life, which reveals itself to me step by step. Okay, great. So again, let's go back to influences. These are things that are hindering us. And before we go on, let's just take a quick check with Crowley on the Hanged Man. Just read what he has to say about card 12. Calls it the Tarot of the Egyptians in this. Card 12 is the card before death, the Hanged Man. This card, attributed to the later Mem, represents the element of water. It would be perhaps better to say that it represents the spiritual function of water in the economy of initiation. It is a baptism, which is also death. Now remember, we were talking about the influence of the eclipse, the coming eclipse, right? We've got our moon card out on the table. And he also says, in the same way that there's the INRI of the Christ, we have the IOA formula, the drowned man. Isis is water. Every man and every woman is a star, as he says in this one. Okay, great. So now let's look at things that are crossing this card. Okay, so we've gotten this card. We have these three that sort of are representing the influence of these. I'll just stick them in this space right here. What's crossing this card? This is hindrances, right? If we go back to this, it says, influence is hindering or furthering the basic situation. Put the moon back down. I'll use this as a placeholder for now. let's go to the Two of Cups. And the Two of Cups says, the Two of Cups is love. Venus in Cancer, receptive love, happy relationships, emotional change. Have a look. Seems like something advancing. If you love yourself, you are attentive to others. Your receptiveness toward yourself, perhaps you will give yourself totally to someone else. A deep emotional exchange is possible. The two lotus blossoms rise out of the mud and bloom. The cups are filled and overflow, symbolizing abundance. Indications: your readiness to receive love makes you attractive. Surrender to yourself and others and to life. With which person or persons in which surroundings can you share your love? That's why this is a good one. Gerd Ziegler, very good. Pay attention to the love coming to you. Remain open. There is nothing to do but enjoy what life offers. So this is where it says the coming eclipse is about an openness to what is to come. Let us go to the next card. This is thoughts about the question. Conscious thoughts and unconscious thoughts is what we're going to look at now. So the conscious thoughts, conscious thoughts above and unconscious thoughts below, 3, 4. Okay, so let's go to the conscious thoughts, and we have the Ace of Cups. So again, we got Ace of Cups. Now we go back kind of karmically. All the Cups cards go in a row, so we're going back a card to the Ace of Cups. And let's see what the Ace of Cups tells us. The Ace of Cups, it says, overflowing love, emotional clarity, deep love of the self, giving and receiving. The white lotus is the symbol of love, of a giving nature. Vertically through the cup flows a brilliant energy beam, uniting earth and cosmos. The cup is the medium which makes itself available for the coming together of the above and the below. Isn't it interesting how this card here was also the cup, the Aquarian cup pouring down the star, right? The Aquarian cup pours down the star stuff down to the earth, right? Okay, it also says, the giving of love and happiness effortlessly, that which continues to flow into us from the boundless abundance of the universe. So it's flowing down into the cup and overflowing. You are in contact with an all-embracing love. It fills you and can pass it on generously. What is your way of expressing love? Now, this is the conscious idea of the card, right? Let this card work for you for a while. Read the last 2 paragraphs. Feel yourself open to the energy. Let's just take a moment to look at this card. Right. And let's go to the unconscious thoughts about this card. So the unconscious thoughts is the wheel. 1, 2, 3, the 4 of Wands. 4 of Wands making the wheel. These are the unconscious thoughts about the situation. Again, we're talking about the tarot. And we're talking about the coming eclipse. The 4 of Wands is completion. Completion. It says Venus in Aries. Completion, unity, possibility of a new beginning. So everything here seems to be around knowing yourself, accepting transformation, surrendering to the true idea of the real love, right? The idea of an overflowing abundance consciously, and then unconsciously, you're actually getting this idea of the completion. So the circle is full, all conditions and opposites come together, the harmony between male and female, active and passive, ram and dove are returned, the fire of creativity is kindled. Something beautiful is making its way into your relationships. You may first establish conditions that are so called into question and openly discussed. It says, are you prepared to accept in your life people in spite of your differences? What areas of you are in urgent need of clarification? Is there some tension? This is a good time to resolve it. So the completeness, let's grab 2 new cards from these other decks to talk about this completeness. It talks about the capacity to love. It's got this great picture of the Ganesh trunk. And then it's got Hathor as intelligence. Right? So here we have some ideas to help with the completeness. Capacity to love. What does Don Milo Duquette say about the Four of Wands? Don Milo Duquette says the Four of Wands. It says, as we learn our discussion of Anu X, fortune is the 4th of Sephirah, cherished of the Guanas resolved. And so even though the total departure from the Golden Dawn model, Harris completes a rotating wheel by transforming 4 wands into the 8 spokes of completion. The Lord of perfected work. Zeus, Ammon, Jupiter, Jove, and Jehovah are classic examples of the demiurge who thinks he is God, but who is really only the visible manifestation of the invisible primal forces that created him. So chapter 20 is the general and divinatory meanings of this card. So let's look at chapter 20. The 4 of Wands. Settlement, arrangement, completion. Perfection or completion of a thing built upon trouble and labor. Rest after labor, subtlety, cleverness, beauty, mirth, success, and completion. Reasoning faculty, conclusions drawn from previous knowledge. Graceful in manner, at times. So that's what we have there. Okay, let's go on to our next card. This card will be the past, I believe. Card number 5 will be the past influence, and then we'll go to the future influence. So past influence, we've got, I think it's a Hierophant. The Hierophant. It says Taurus, spiritual master, teacher, advisor, initiate, inner guide. This card is ruled by Taurus. The throne of the initiate is a bull surrounded by 2 elephants, whose nature is the same as the bull. The 4 cherubim, the Taurus, the bull, are symbolic of earth. The Hierophant is united all of the elements. See, he's united all of the elements here in view. When the male and female are united, the child Horus was born. He is the naked, unprotected, vulnerable, full of openness and trust in existence. Anyone who spends time in the presence of the Hierophant is touched by this quality. Indication. The search for the self. The search for the self leads to spiritual realms. Is there any master of wisdom, past or present, to whom you feel attracted? Involve yourself with the teachings of spiritual masters. Seek the presence of a master or teacher. Involve yourself in groups for personal growth. Be honest, open, and receive in these groups. Pay attention to the instructions of your heart. There's only one voice listening to, the voice of your own heart. That's the voices of the past. Let's see the voices of the future. And this is the Tower. The Tower, 16. This is the card after the Devil. This is that's the Tower's Devil, Capricorn. This is 16, the Tower. Mars, far reaches. Notice how we have these kind of forces going across it. So we know this core line. So this is the sun line, right? When eclipse happens, we have something blocks the sun. And we're seeing things from the past, which are the Hierophant, which is sort of beliefs. And it's also about things of the things we've learned, things teachers have taught us from the past. And then it goes into the Tower, far-reaching inner transformation, healing. The old is destroyed to make room for the new. So we're seeing that there's a red current. You notice how these cards have that same color scheme, right? So this is the sun, and then the moon is moving across them from the past to the future. Right? This is how I'm taking it. The power of the consuming, purifying towers destroys the old and sweeps it away. Nothing is spared. The Tower of the Eagle will be shaken to its foundation. The Tower is also one of the highest cards for healing. Just as extraction of a rotten tooth provides relief for the body, having a tooth extracted can be painful, but when the tooth is poisoning your system, there's no other choice. Indications: you're in the midst of or about to enter into extremely intensive transformatory processes. Whether it is destroyed or shaken within you serves to purify you and make room for this something new. Allow it. Are you ready to view yourself in life with new eyes? Everything is happening for the best. Well, let's grab some cards for indication here. We get skill. Do you have the skill? Pitha card. And then from the Ganesh deck, we have guidance, skill and guidance. So again, it's the thread coming across. Guidance, skill helps you on the way through the transformation. We'll go back to our card 7. This is what is our attitude. What is the present attitude of all of us, let's say? And we get 4 of Cups. So the Cups continues. We double the 2. We had 1, then we have 2, and now we have 4. 4 of Cups is luxury. Moon in Cancer, love, tenderness, care, emotional riches. So we come from a place of love, right? People come from that place of love. It's very simple. The Pink Lotus testifies to the love we have received from others, and the Golden Cup expresses the wealth of feelings at hand whose roots are deep in the subconscious. But a danger exists, however, in these emotions to take on a life of their own. Moderation is thrown to the winds. We are driven by the emotions unconsciously. In this case, it's clear. Pale blue sky darkens and the water loses its clarity. Especially in familiar or intimate relationships, an expressive devotion and care must be observed. You are being given much love and devotion. Enjoy it without becoming dependent on it. Are you in any relation which you feel restricted? Are you expressly devoted to someone? After answering your question, draw a card to tell you how to deal with this situation. So this is there something that's restricting us that we have to get some guidance on, right? So let's get some guidance from this card. And we get the 1 of Wands. We'll also get the Nefertiti meditation. And we'll get Ganesh steadfastness. So we have a wand one, but then we have 2 cards that are talking about stability. So the 1 of Wands, the Ace of Wands. We've got 2 aces now. Aces are quite unique. The Ace of Wands is fire, high energy, transformation. Again, the Ace of Wands is a huge flaming torch, symbol of the element of fire which rules wands. Again, it is the sun. Right? So the sun is the energies which arise after blocks have been removed. Now, a eclipse is the blocking of the sun. So with skill, guidance, steadfastness, and knowledge, the time will pass, the towers will fall, and with guidance and skill, you will transform through it, okay? So let's go to the next card. Energies coming to me from the outer world. Now we're back to the Lisan al-Gaib, the outer world here. We have the... it's a knight of some sort. It's a water knight. So he is the... I don't have all these memorized here, so we'll go through. It is a prince of a sort. Prince of what? Prince of Cups. Oh, okay, so the cups gets its prince. This is the airy aspect of water. Again, an Aquarian image, like our Aquarius. Desires, wishes, cravings, possibilities for transformation. Again, this is the energies coming to us from the outer world. The central task of the Prince of Cups is to master dealing with emotional needs. Mastery of dealing with emotional needs. Air, in the context of water, symbolizes strong passions, as does the astrological sign Scorpio. The prince's coach, reminiscent of a seashell, is drawn by scorpion and eagle. Indication: accept your needs and passions and live them out with awareness. You will discover a lot in the process. Give yourself to experience the experience. Observe yourself while you do that. So I guess it says, try those things that you desire, but do it with a soberness. Do it with a clarity. Spend some time each day visualizing yourself with your desire, but without getting trapped by them. Right? So this is a very Scorpio-based kind of card. Let's see, do we get an influence here? It comes up as healing. So right, just understand that it's a healing process. Let's go ahead to hopes and fears. Hopes and fears, we have another prince. And this is the red prince in the line again. So this is that sort of eclipse moving across. Part of the hopes and fears that we talked about hindering the transformation is the tearing down of the towers. So let's take a look at this prince. It is the Prince of Discs, maybe? Discs. Yeah, it looks like Prince of Discs. Prince of Discs is the airy aspect of Earth. So this is kind of a Virgo type thing. Airy aspect of Earth, mastery of structure, design, architecture. Great energy in dealing with the material, unshakable, prudence, meditation, physical activity. The Prince of Discs represents the process of blooming and pollination. He sits in solidly built chariot. The bull symbol is repeated on the prince's helmet. The fruits surrounding him indicate the richness of the harvest. This is the time to take action. If you do so, important experiences will result. Well, the action is the eclipse is happening. So we do have that in line. There is an eclipse. Question. What activities do you enjoy? What activities would help you towards self-realization? Find a physical creative activity to which you find joy and fulfillment. I think this is interesting. Like, I think I even look back at, a lot of this podcast came out of the lockdown, right? And one of the things that I did for that is I started a gaming channel. I started this channel. I started bringing to get together some of my works to share with everyone because we were sort of all isolated. But one of the things I found that I very much enjoyed was a morning walk. And I had heard about the benefits of doing this. And those walks in the garden. I actually had a garden kind of podcast. I even thought about terraforming Mars in this context. So there's lots of those things that you guys can start doing. And also, I think making these books. I mean, look, if we're going back, I will go back into Dune Revenant, which is a fan fiction that we had created. Here's the original Dune Revenant. I'll show you this, guys, later. But finding the thing that you enjoy. Our other channel is a board game channel called Pontos Fathom Hobbies. I think this is an interesting thing. Have a hobby. And that will help you to pass through this difficult transformation. Find a thing that you love to do that. Not all of us are able to give up working. So we'll move on to the result or the outcome. And of course, we get an amazing card here. It is the Aeon. Right? So again, shout out to Jung's Aeon. The highly discriminating or discerning, open to criticism, critical self-awareness. The central part of this card is enveloped in the stylized body of the star goddess Nuith. The star goddess Nuith. So can I get this a little bit clearer for you? Give me one moment here. Take this here. Zoom it here. Here's Nuith. Okay, we can see her. I'm going to put her back down now. She spends night over the heavens in order to provide a background for the stars. During the day, she is once again swallowed up by the sun. Her companion is Hadit, represented by a ball of fire. The eye of Horus sees the totality. He can see what has fallen out of harmony. Criticism based on such deep prescription can be communicated in a manner that motivates and inspires rather than condemning of others. This is the time that we shouldn't be condemning of others. There's, the tragic death of Ed Piskor taking his own life just over sort of cancel culture and things like this. Everyone has a chance at redemption, and it's not man's place to force people to redeem. It's sort of a lesson that everyone can take, So I think that there is this kind of side of a righteousness and, not throwing the stone. He who was without sin. throw the first song. Discernment, which springs from real insight, is constructed and free of dogma. The gods of wisdom, shown as a winged serpent at the top of the painting, is a symbol of the vast powers of thought. Indications you are being challenged to drop your worm's eye view to see things from a higher plane. When you have recognized power, time spans, aeons, and other contexts, as you will increasingly be able to, you will see they tend more and more to observe things in their beingness, to see free from evaluation. Suggestion. Meditate on the following statement. One sign of ignorance is indicated by some belief in injustice and in happiness. You have to decide to be happy, the decision card. Which methods will you use to gain deeper insights? God is unknown. The more I know that I don't know, the closer I am to the divine. So here we have a reading, right? And I think one of the things it's interesting about this kind of space is, if you look at, we're looking for oracular things to happen with these predictions. People want to have something big happen, right? Something that's world-changing, world-shaking. In fact, though, it's really kind of up to us to sort of set that frame, right? Set that stage. I think I even called upon in the early days of Dune Revenant writing. I think I called out to the Dune Tarot at one point in this book. I think they travel and they see the Dune Tarot in the fish speaker schools, perhaps. Yeah, so I have a small chapter here about it. It says, Yanima murmured something that Thuhin could not quite catch. He turned from her as the Hayat Duncan drew his next card from the ancient Dune Tarot. This card takes the form of influences from the outer world. Look, there we have it right there, right? Ix. Ix symbolizes something more than her home world. Here, Ix crosses the influence of the universe. Too many people begin to think like machines. Time to think again like animals. Hayat Duncan turned over the penultimate card. This is the card of hopes and fears. He turned the card down. And this card represents the outcome. Yeah, so just a bit about that influence of the card reading. I actually have here, this is the first zine type of publication I did of Dune Revenant. It's a small book from the early 90s that I just Xeroxed together. So this is the zine edition of Dune Revenant. Circulated in a small group of people. What else did I also want to show you? I kind of wanted to show you these I Ching cards. So basically what they were little mini paintings. Each one is a painting, a watercolor. And the watercolors represent the I Ching. So this is lake above thunder, which is symbolized by the road. This is heaven over abyss. This is fire over water. This is yin over abyss, thunder over water, wind, mountain over lake, mountain over wind. So each one of these kind of drawings was a visual meditation of the ways to call out the I Ching. Maybe I'll bring these out another time. If you guys are interested, I'll do a whole podcast on the visual I Ching. I don't have the original deck, but I actually recreated them as watercolors, probably maybe in university, high school even, maybe in university time. Again, a project that one can do to focus oneself, to engage in a kind of activity that is freeing from the troubles of the times. Speaking of those troubles, quick shout out to this channel's sponsor. We've got the bookstore down in the link, the Katu Journals out of Lovecraft's Providence. is one of those books that we have, published from Pontos Fathom Press. Speaking of, it's time to be less like machines and more like humans. We have the artificial psychoanalysis of desiring machines. We did some of these topics here, Jungian alchemy and horror and science fiction. This covers from our earlier podcasts. Friends of the channel know that we've published these books. You can check them out in the bookstore. You can also go to our Patreon and read some of the excerpts of these there for as little as $1. So appreciate you do that. And finally, we've got the anthroposophy and alchemy and anthroposophy in the Dune Saga. I wanted to share with you one last kind of strange idea I had. If I just take these kind of, I took a box of old photos together, and I just wanted to sort of share this concept. Maybe I need some extra light because the sun is setting. And what I wanted to share with you was, perhaps on top of all of this, we'll just kind of end with this concept of I took we used to print photographs back in the day, right? We would have printed photographs. And I just thought, what if I were to just turn a stack of photographs into some kind of oracular story, right? So I think it's simple enough activity. So let's just kind of try it. So this is a photograph of a cemetery in Paris. It might be in, maybe I'll zoom all the way in on these. It might be Père Lachaise, right? I'll have that as the first. Maybe that's too zoomed. Zoom out a bit so you can see that photo. Next up, I've got this looks like Florence. It's a cathedral near, I want to say those, it's the big cathedral of, it's a Duomo. It's the Duomo. This is a photo of a pair of bicycles. This is an apartment in Boston from the Bike Messenger days. This is a rock in Boulder, Colorado, and if you zoom in, you can see some people up here. Up here in the top here. Can I zoom in enough? No, it's just too blurry. But yeah, so rock climbing. This is some barbecue seafood. Barbecue seafood. And what am I doing here? Well, I'm just saying how it's interesting how we don't need a tarot deck to sort of create. This is a photo taken at night, sort of a victorious photo. A werewolf, kind of. This is a picture in Iceland. Our picture of the moon comes back. The moon, taken from a telescope, actually in the city here. Again, this is Iceland. This is a gate of hell sculpted by Rodin. This is a mummy from the Metropolitan Museum. Uffizi. Florence again, you see Duomo there. This was some graffiti in, let's say in Montreal, Canada. This is a movie theater in Providence, Rhode Island. This is in the Louvre, I believe. This is that catacombs under Paris. The skulls and the features. Again, here's some graffiti. This is from Toulouse in France. Toulouse graffiti. And this might also be Toulouse graffiti. I believe this is in Paris. This is in Tuscany. It's in, actually this is in, what's that city? It is Siena. This is this plaza in Siena. They had the horse race there. Next, we've got I think this is Baudelaire's tomb, or maybe Rodin's tomb, I'm not sure. Baudelaire, Rodin. Again, Père Lachaise again. This was graffiti, an alien graffiti from under a train track bridge in Boston. This is the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas. This is again Père Lachaise. This is beneath the. This is in the Cathedral of Notre Dame, and I think this is in the catacombs there. This is a rock in Connecticut. This again is graffiti from, I wanted to say that's also from Montreal, as is this one. And then finally, again, that tower in Paris. That's going to do it for the end of the broadcast tonight. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. We will see you next time. I'm actually going to be reading, just to give you guys a heads up on what I'm reading. Speaking of the moon, go back to our moonshot. I'm reading First Man, The Life of Neil Armstrong. I'm also reading The Edge of Space, the X-15 flight program. This looks very interesting because it's sort of a precursor to NASA. And I thought with all of this Starlink shenanigans going on with Musk's rockets, I thought that it was really interesting to learn about the nature of the X-15 program, of which Armstrong took place in, the way it was just an incremental study of each thing's scientific. So I'll be reading those. Check out the bookstore. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.